Hello and welcome to this tutorial. Today I will show you how Ableton Live is saving your files and how you should save your project in a correct way so you won't lose any of your files and samples and stuff. Yes. So here I have some kind of like a crappy project I just did in like 10 minutes, some breakbeat. This is not even my genre. So yeah, so I didn't save the project. And how do I know, and how can I know I didn't save it? Up in the corner it says untitled, and there's an asterisk right after the naming of the untitled. There's a small asterisk, and the asterisk, no matter what the name is, the asterisk indicating that you made some kind of like change to your project, and it should be saved for like saving your work. So now we're gonna save it. So save and save live set. So on my computer, right now it's gonna go into the desktop, but I have a folder on my computer. You need to find your own folder where you usually save your stuff. So I think it's data, and I think it's Dropbox, because I know it's gonna back up on the internet for the Dropbox. So I use MacBook because then I know the project will also be on my MacBook, because I sync this folder with my MacBook. So I have a folder in here called Live Save. So I'm gonna put it in here. So I'm just gonna call it like break beat, something like that. So when I click save, what Ableton will do, it will make a folder like this one with the icon and stuff. It will make this kind of like Ableton icon, and it's Ableton's own icon for folders. So I click save. So what you just saw there, it was like Ableton was loading the samples, and I'm not sure, but I think Ableton is actually saving the first time like the files to the folder. So I open up this one and check how it's structured. So we go into MacBook and we go into this live save in there, and we take the latest one, breakbeat. Yeah. So this is the structure of how Ableton is like structuring all the files. So we're going to samples and processed and cropped, and there's a kick because I processed it, and this kick is actually in, I think it's on the click, because I only took the first part. You can also see the name, it says right here. I only used the click for the compressor over here, and this is just Ableton's file for like analyzing the file. And there's also a freeze. So I have a freeze file in here, and this freeze file, I think it's this one, base freeze. Is this freeze abundant? Yeah, it's giving the name of the track, even though I called the clip base. It's still like calling, it's called freeze over here, freeze a abundant. And yes, this is Ableton Live 10. But what about all the other samples? We use some other samples for like this one. Like this is a kick from like Legion, Psytrance, Sennheiser stuff, and there's also another kick called something with a lot of numbers, and we're gonna check where those are. And as you can see, they are not in the project. It doesn't matter where I am, they are not in the project. Samples, they're not in here. There's only the process like cropped and freezed. And so now I will show you how to proper save it in a proper way. So we're gonna save it. So what you will do, you go up to save, up to file, save, not save, it's called, we already saved the project and we didn't make any changes because there's no asterisk. File, collect all and save. And this one, the first one is files from elsewhere. That is like files we have from all kinds of places in the computer, like on desktop, on download folders, and whatnot. And I can show an example because I think it's this kick is on purposely. I put it in another folder, so you can see show in browser. It's gonna show you the folder where I put in the sample, but you can also right click and say show in Explorer, and it's gonna open up the Windows window like folder like this, and I put it inside my user folder on music folder, and this is the kick. So I also have a snare. I did the same thing, so you can see Explorer, and I put it in on the desktop and on a folder on the desktop called sound snares. And if you go out here, you can see I have a folder here called sound snares. And I need to do this, yeah, and this, yeah. So this is sound snare, and Ableton is like making the ASD file for the analyst file for this one. So now we have two files that are in like different places, so they are not the same place on the computer. We have one on the down, I think it's on the sound folder, music folder, and we have one on the what's it called, on the desktop. So they're not in the same folder. They're not organized. There's no control over it. So what we're gonna do now? File, collect all and save, and we don't. If you are copying your factory packs from, if you're like running from like between desktop and MacBook and another laptop and different computers, when you have a license for Ableton, you have license for like two computers. Usually you will use it for like a desktop computer and a laptop or MacBook. That's the typical way of doing it. So you can transfer your projects from one computer to another computer. So, and usually you use the factory packs on both computers, so you don't need to copy the factory, the sound from the factory pack. It's usually on the computer. So, and you don't want duplicates. So it says files from other projects if you're like importing from other projects, and files from user library if you're making your own sounds or making your own like instruments and stuff. It will also contain files. So I click OK. And what you see over here, it's just made another folder called backup. And it's because every time you have the computer is like making a backup of your save construction. And I think it's in here in the preference where it's like you can set it for how many times it's gonna make backups. I can't remember how many times it is. I just know it's gonna make some backup, and it's gonna make like, I think it's 10 backups. I know it's gonna make backups. I'm not sure if it's in, no, it's not here. But samples, there's another folder now called imported. And that's because it's collecting all the files from the different folder. It's not only collecting, it's just taking a copy of the file. It's not moving, it's collecting. So imported. And in here you see from the sample pack Legion sidetrains. And in here you see the other files. And you see here the other snare. So there's a kick and there's a snare. And there's a kick here. And that's it. I have 3 samples. I have kick, snare, and kick. And that's it. So where's my hi-hat? So the hi-hat is actually from a sample pack inside Ableton. So we go in to see, I think it's show in browser. And in this browser you can see where this sample file is referencing to, like linking to. And you can see up here on the structure, you can see up here it's actually coming from the core library called samples, drums, and hi-hats. And it's actually the A hi-hat one. It's actually it's the first one. Yeah, it's the first one. So it's not gonna copy that because the way Ableton works, it's doing this. You can see collect all and files from factory pack. We didn't put this one on because we're like expecting on our other computer that the factory pack is on there. So this is how you save Ableton Live files. So let's say you're like recording some stuff, like doing this called like resampling. You're doing this like, it's called resampling, and you're gonna record this one and just click like this. So now you have like a resampling of your project, and the track is called 9 Audio and the clip is called 9 Audio 1. And you can see we have the asterisks up there. We're gonna, as you can see, we cannot, it's not possible. Can you save it? Yeah, you can save it. Save. When I click save, it's not gonna like import the audio. Just wait. Samples, process, record. Yeah, it's recorded and the audio is in there. So it's already in the project. But even though you recorded some stuff and resampled and did a lot of kind of things with your Ableton with effects and did another recording, you still need to do this called collect all and save, just to be sure. So you know your project is fine. But let's say you wanna save the project again, but you don't want this one, and let's say you don't want the this kick like that, and you want to save it as a new project. So now I'm purposely gonna make a mistake. So this one is called break, and I'm gonna call this one break 2. But I'm saving it inside of a project folder, and this is wrong. This is a mistake. So save. So now we're gonna go to breakbeat project, and as you can see here, what Ableton did is that it registered that you're making that you put a project within a project. And what it's gonna do, if you have more names and you're gonna do something like this, you're gonna save again and you're gonna put it like, and I put it like techno stuff. Let's say this is a new project and I'm saving this. And now I'm gonna like find some files on the internet. There's one called freesounds.org or something like that. And I'm gonna find a hi-hat, something like that. Yes, I'm just gonna use this one, download this. And now it's in my download folder. And usually when you put stuff in your download folder, you mistakenly just forget just to move it elsewhere. So I'm just gonna directly put it in my project, in my Ableton project. And I'm gonna make like a new hi-hat, and I'm gonna take this one down. I'm gonna switch this one out. So it's gonna be like this, put it in here, boop, like that. And everything should be fine. So I'm gonna this one, and I can click, and I'm gonna take this one off. It doesn't matter what it sounds, it's just the concept of this, like you can see. So now there's this samples. So I will save this one, save live set, collect all and save, OK. So now we have 3 projects in one project folder. So what's going to happen now is that the samples imported, it's going to use samples in the same folder, but with samples that are not used in other projects in the same projects folder. And this is crap. This is bad. This is really bad for your projects. You need to keep your project like separated. So it's only loading the samples it needed in the samples folder, because if you have like, let's say you have like 300 samples in this one and you're only using like 10 of them, Ableton is still trying to like keep track of those. So this is really bad. So the correct way to like saving a project is like save live set as, and you're gonna go out of this project, and I'm gonna save it as the new techno stuff. Save, collect all and save, OK. And if we go one folder back, we have now one called techno stuff and one called breakbeat. And this is Ableton's way of like making a new folder for your project. And this is the correct way, because then you have like your project separated with the sample files and stuff. And this is better, much better for your project. And Also, when you are like saving your projects, you will see up here in the naming of Ableton, it says techno stuff, and then it have like these square brackets up here. It says techno stuff. But if I open up the other project where it says like, you can see it also doing the same thing in the open recent set. It says techno stuff, but it says techno stuff breakbeat. And this is because it's using the name of the project's folder, not the project file. So this icon, this here, this is a project folder. And if I go into this, you have a project file. The project file is ALS, and Ableton also using the same kind of projects files for like a saving a single track or saving, I think it's, yeah, a single track with all the stuff on it. Yeah. So if you want to keep your projects clean and keep your like stuff separated, you need to save them as individual, and Ableton is making the folder automatically. So if I'm saving this as a new one, I don't save it in here. I go one folder back in my main, you can call it like main directory or main folder. I just call it live save. This is where I put all my save files. So if I call it something new, I take this one .als off the name, and I just call it something, no pop or whatever. Ableton is automatically making a folder called Technopop. And it's made it right here. You saw it's did it automatically. And I go in, and this is the correct way. But now we only saved it. We need to collect all and save. So now it's made like samples and a backup. And this is the correct way. Yeah. So it's making a sample folder for each project on its own folder. So this is the kind of way you need to do it to keep your folders organized, because if you have like a project and you do this collect all and save, the benefit of doing this is that Ableton keep everything separated for each project, and it's you can also take the project, let's say this is called pop techno whatever, I can right click on it, send to compressed zip folder, and I can make a zip folder file and send it like via Dropbox to somebody as a project file. And this is really handy. But if I did it with the other one, I think it's called Breakbeat, where I have like more than one project. I have two projects. I have one called Techno Stuff and Breakbeat. If I did this zip with this one, it's gonna take the samples in the sample folder, both from Breakbeat and from Techno Stuff. And you don't want the samples from multiple projects in one project folder sending to one of your friends. It's gonna be multiple gigabytes of samples. So yeah, usually a large project can be like between like 500 megabyte and 1 gigabyte, depending on how long the project is. But yeah, but usually keep it as low as possible, because it's taken a long time to send stuff on the internet. So Breakbeat, yeah. So those projects, I'm gonna delete them because I don't need them. So yeah. So this was just an example of how to save your project correctly and what kind of mistakes you can make, because I already have like the sounds out here. And if you don't keep your sounds organized, every time you are saving your project, Ableton is also like duplicating. It's also taking a copy of the sample. So you have the sample inside of the project folder. So that's why it's really important that you have your projects folder organized, and you do this collect all and save. Don't put this one on factory pack because it's so many gigabytes. I think it's like 60 or 70 gigabyte of stuff from Ableton's factory pack. And if you do this all the time like this, yes, it's gonna duplicate it all the time. So the purpose of doing this called, I have it in my Dropbox folder. You can also do it in Google Drive and whatnot. But MacBook Live Save, when I do this and organize it like this, when I'm like, let's say you reinstall Windows, or I'm like, I don't want this one anymore, I just delete it, and I go into the other folder. I think, oh, I have too much music, I do have too many samples. I'm just gonna take those two Ableton files, whatnot, and delete them, and do this. AMG files, boom, 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 yes, like this. And I'm reopening the project, and it's fine. There's no problem. But let's say if I'm having something like this, yes, and let's say I'm doing this and I'm importing this file. Yeah, I'm gonna do the mistake. So I'm gonna do this, yes, like this, on this one hi-hat, and I'll just save it like normal, save live set, yeah, and I will delete this file. Delete. Yeah, right now I cannot delete it because Ableton is saying that it's being used in Ableton. So what I will do is, it's only been saved, normal save, not collect all and save, just save. I'm gonna open up another one, just Technopop is just breakbeat like this. I'm gonna open this one, yes, and now I can delete the files. I'm gonna delete both of them, delete all, something like that, and do this. So now I made a mistake that people can make when you're using Ableton. So I'm opening up this one called Technopop. Yeah. Yeah, right now there's an orange bar down in the bottom of the screen in Ableton, and it's because Ableton is complaining about a missing file. Also, it says media files are missing. Please click here to learn more. So this is because the file structure is wrong and you didn't save it correctly. So it says this file is missing, and if you deleted it, you can't do anything about it. It's an hi-hat, and I think I have it from the internet, but if you don't have a backup, if you didn't... So this is why it's important to do this one called collect all and save. But if I'm not mistaken, I still have it. It's actually saying, I think it says it's missing, but it doesn't say where it's missing from. It's just you can say its sample is offline. So what we will do now, it says MacBook live saves. I should just be able to like search for it because I know it's in another project folder. So I should just go. Yeah, it did find the file because I have it in another project folder because I did this collect all and it's just a copy. But now because it's like linking from the file to this one in here to the hi-hat, it's gonna give me the asterisk up in the corner. File, collect all, and save. Save changes to Technopop before closing. I'm not gonna close. I'm going to collect all and save. OK. And that's it. So now the project is fine. So this is, I know it's a little bit long, but this is how you're actually doing stuff in Ableton, how to correctly save your files. So see you.